YouTube, thank you for tuning back into our channel. My name is Tony and today we got some interesting content for the viewers today. Today's subject is a game inspired by and made after the super classic masterpiece of a three-part movie franchise called The Godfather Part 2. The game was released back in 2009 and is still a very awesome hit video game still till this day. While the storyline in the game may differ from the storyline of the 1974 classic Part 2 film, however, some of the events in the game are true, such as the CIA hiring the mob to try and take out Fidel Castro. Nonetheless, we start off in the beginning of the game in Cuba during a mafia meeting in the era of the Cuban Missile Crisis in December 1959. 3 years after the events of the first game, elderly mobster Hyman Roth calls a meeting with the Corleone, Granados, Mangano, and Almeida families in Havana to discuss their future Cuban business prospects under the cooperative government of Fulgencio Batista. Roth announces his intentions to have his businesses divided between the four families once he retires. However, the guests become caught in the ongoing Cuban Revolution, and Corleone underboss Aldo Trapani is killed during the chaos. Don Michael Corleone, his brother Fredo, and Trapani's second-in-command, Dominic, manage to escape aboard a private plane, and Michael appoints Dominic as his new underboss, placing him in charge of the family's businesses in New York City. 6 weeks later, Dominic is tasked with dealing with two ex-Corleone caporegimes, Carmen and Tony Rosato, who have formed their own family and are dealing drugs. Frank Pentangeli wants them dead, but Michael suggests sending them a message by taking over their protection rackets and killing their men. Soon enough, Carmen offers to meet Dominic and Frank to make peace, only to try to have them killed. An assassin tells Frank that Michael Corleone says hello, and shoots him, while Dominic escapes and confronts Michael, who denies being behind the hit. Shortly thereafter, Dominic kills Carmen and takes over his remaining businesses. Later, Dominic is invited to Florida by Roth, and is met by Fredo, who has been sent by Michael to manage their hotels here. Roth and Fredo ask for Dominic's help in dealing with Don Rico Granados, who has begun fighting Roth over various properties, and Tony Rosato, who has relocated his empire to Florida. After killing Tony's men and taking over his businesses in Florida, Dominic returns to New York to kill Tony himself at his compound. Shortly thereafter, Michael tells Dominic that a Senate committee is building a case against the Corleones and has acquired a key witness, Frank, who survived the assassination attempt and believes Michael betrayed him. He then appoints Tom Hagen, the former Corleone consigliere and Michael's lawyer, as Dominic's new consigliere to assist him with his operations. Tom enlists Dominic's help in framing Senator Pat Geary for the murder of a prostitute, and then offering to get rid of the corpse in exchange for his friendship to the Corleones. Geary agrees, and reveals that the Mangano family are planning to start operating in Miami. Rather than go to war with them, Dominic, at Michael's advice, strikes a partnership with the Manganos. During this time, he also finishes off the Grandanos, bombing their compound and killing Rico. After Dominic and Fredo are almost killed in a drive-by shooting, the latter blames the Manganos and convinces Dominic to exact revenge by taking over one of their warehouses. Outraged, Don Samuel Mangano declares war against Dominic's organization. Asking Roth for advice, he and his associate, CIA agent Henry Mitchell, tell Dominic that all their problems will be solved if Fidel Castro is killed and Batista is reinstated as president. Dominic travels to Cuba to assassinate Castro, but is stopped by Don Esteban Almeida, who knew he was coming. Dominic manages to escape Cuba, but as his plane leaves, Roth arrives and ensures Almeida the assassination attempt will not interrupt their plans. Back in New York, Michael demands to know why Dominic and Fredo didn't turn to him after the Manganos tried to have them killed. Fredo reveals Roth was behind everything, hoping to align with Batista and Almeida after Castro was killed. Fed up of being ridiculed and ignored, Fredo agreed to help Roth, who had promised him his own family. Furious, Michael disowns Fredo. Meanwhile, Michael is worried about Frank's testimony, and has his brother, Vincenzo, brought over from Sicily, hoping to shame Frank into not testifying. Roth has Vincenzo kidnapped, but Dominic rescues him in time for Frank's testimony. Frank doesn't testify against Michael, and Geary dismisses the hearing. After the hearing, Michael orders Dominic to kill the Corleones, remaining enemies, Roth, Mitchell, the Almeidas and the Manganos. Dominic successfully eliminates the two families and their heads, kills Mitchell in Cuba, and assassinates Roth, who was extradited from Cuba on corruption charges, at Miami International Airport. Returning to Michael and Tom, they congratulate Dominic, telling him the war is over and that, from now on, he will be known as Dominic Corleone. The game ends with Dominic killing Fredo on a fishing boat. Thanks for watching. Be sure to stay tuned because we got more gaming content on the way.